Bosh, how's it going everybody? My name's TradeX, this is my trading den, and today we're going to be doing a breakdown of the New York session AM reversal. Now this is personally one of my favorites. The reason being is that the moves can be explosive when they leave that higher time frame PD array. So we're going to break down exactly how to trade it, and we're going to do it in my usual style. So we'll do the very brief bullet points first, then we'll go into fixed charts, then we'll jump into some live chart examples. So guys, as always, if you find value in this video, please do consider smashing the like and subscribe. It helps the channel out and it also helps other viewers like yourself view this content. So without further ado, let's get this intro rolling and then we'll jump straight into the good stuff. See you on the other side. Okay, here we go guys, New York session AM reversal. What we're looking at here is essentially an entry technique. But before we start breaking this down, we need to understand a couple of things. Firstly is time and price, when this takes place. And this is a New York session AM reversal. So we're looking at the New York kill zone. Okay, the New York kill zone is between 8 and 10 in the morning, right? This is when we're looking for the entry to go short. And today we are going to be covering a bearish example. If you want a bullish example, all you have to do is flip the logic, okay? The other thing is to understand the time and price, which is leading up into the New York AM session reversal. So we'll be focusing on the London open kill zone, which as we know is between 3 and 6 a.m. in the morning. And we've also got the Asia range, which is between 9 p.m. the previous day to 1 o'clock in the morning. All of that price action inside of those time frames are what we are looking at and analyzing as we run up into the New York session AM reversal, all right? The second thing we need to understand is where we sit in terms of price on the wider, higher time frames. Are we in a premium? Are we in a discount? Is price searching for a higher time frame PD array? All of these things we'll go through in detail in a minute, but these are points that you need to reference when forming the New York session reversal. Thirdly, we need to be understanding whether price wants to drive down into a higher time frame discount once it reaches that PD array. So have we been accumulating, creating a lot of sell side liquidity where we're expecting price to run up, fulfill that higher time frame objective before running lower? Again, something else we'll break down in the live chart examples. And thirdly, is there a high impact news event which could drive us to that target at 8:30 to 9:30? Okay, so when we're looking at the New York AM session reversal, me personally, I'm looking at it before 9:30, so before the CME open, when the high impact news event drivers usually take place, usually at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. So between 8:30 and 9:30 is when I would expect this run on the higher time frame PD array, and as we know, that can sometimes be a high impact news event. It doesn't necessarily have to be a high impact news event driver that gets us up there, but it's worth bearing in mind if you are trading news events, okay? Now, let's break this down. This section here is the Asian range. So this is within inside the Asian kill zone, which is 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning. And what we're looking to do is take the Asian range high and low. And then during the London session and that period running up into the London session, we do not ideally want to see the low of Asia being taken. Reason being is price will be using that price, that low, as a target to get purged on the entry when we start looking at terminus on our trade exit, okay? If price runs the Asia low before moving higher, later we'll be looking at just partials. But just bearing in mind, the first thing, ideally preferable, is that price does not take the Asia low before moving up inside the London kill zone. Okay, next thing, inside the London kill zone, we want to be looking at a wider frame that has not been rebalanced yet. So where this price left previously, we are expecting that price to get rebalanced in the London kill zone, sorry. Let's say, for example, up here, we have the old high, and down here we have the old low, and this is the Asia range. Price moves up into OTE of this previous displacement leg, which hasn't been rebalanced, okay, but fails to ultimately reach the higher time frame PD array during the New York open kill zone, which as we know is between 8 and 10 in the morning. Okay, London, we go up into the OTE, but fail to reach this premium array on a higher time frame. It falls back into an OTE. And then during the New York open kill zone, we are looking for price to expand higher into this higher time frame PD array. Now, this can happen on the news driver at 8:30, or it can happen just gradually as we lead up into and before the 9:30 open, which is predominantly when I like to take this entry. Okay, and When price reaches this target, we are wanting to see aggressive displacement lower. We do not want to see it accumulate here, because if it accumulates, what we're likely to get is a trending day where it just keeps punching up, and then we can look at mid day reversals, whether that's a 2 p.m. algo, whether that's 11:30 a.m. retracement. Okay, but this specific is a New York session AM reversal, and I'm looking for it before 9:30. Okay, price tags this higher time frame PDA. We're looking for immediate displacement, so this is when we can start looking at 2022 model entries. So whether that's a purchase or sell side, return up into a OTE market structure shift before breaking lower, or we can look at breaker blocks. We have a high, a low, a final little push through before breaking. That lowest down close candle is our breaker block. If you don't know what a breaker block is, guys, I've done a episode on breaker blocks, and I will put a comment card at the end so you guys can go and watch that afterwards. But you're looking for, your classic entry techniques when price gets up here, but you're looking for aggressive displacement, guys. And if you catch these, these are easy, clean trades where you wish you had them every single day. They're very, very smooth to be in. And then all it comes down to is managing your trade and taking partials and taking exits and looking at your terminus point. Okay. For me personally, I look at the range that was set between the Asian low and the high, look at equilibrium, and this would be where I'm looking to take partials. So if I see a fair value gap or a mitigation block or an old breaker, something along those lines at the equilibrium point, that's where I take partials. And then I would hold runners if the Asia low was not taken before London, for price to come and run the Asia lows. As I mentioned earlier, if London purchased these Asian lows, then I would be more inclined to take my full position off, or at least 75% of my position off at the equilibrium, and let the runners try and run the lows and search for a higher time frame PD array in a discount. All right, so we'll be looking at a higher time frame PD array in a discount. That breaks down the New York session AM reversals in this setup. Let's jump into a few little bullet points, then we'll jump into the live charts. So again, we're looking at the Asia range low and high to remain in place. This will be the eventual target once the higher time frame PD array is met before 9:30 open. We're looking for price to expand higher during the London session, but failed to reach the ultimate higher time frame PD array terminus. Okay, so as I mentioned before, during London, we're looking at the previous range that hasn't been rebalanced yet. And this is where during London, we're looking for that OTE to be hit before it falls back into a mini retracement. During the AM session, New York AM session, which as we know is between 8 and 10 a.m. in the morning, we're looking for price to expand higher up into that higher time frame PD array. That can be an order block, that can be a breaker block, it could be a mitigation block, it could be an old high, it could just be below an interim term high on the hourly. It could be a new weekly opening gap. It could be a variety, but we are looking for a higher time frame premium PD array for price to run up into during the New York AM session reversal. Then we are looking for immediate displacement. We do not want to see it accumulate and reaccumulate new longs, because if we do that, we can anticipate a trending day, and then we would be looking for reversals later in the day session. But here we could, if we do get the displacement, we could look at a 2022 model. My 2022 model variation, which is on my Twitter, and I'm also be doing a video on that very, very soon. Or you could be a breaker block entry, a whole variety of entry techniques you could use to go short. But we'll be targeting 50% of the range to take partials, whether you find an imbalance or an inefficiency in price at that level, an old mitigation block or a breaker block, anything like that around equilibrium is where you'd be looking to take partials. And then if the Asia low wasn't taken during the London session, you can look for price to run the Asia low as your final terminus. And as I mentioned previously, if the Asia low was taken during London, then you may want to take more of your position off at equilibrium. Okay, so that's going to cover that. Let's jump into a live chart example and break it down. All right, so here we go. Let's break this down. So what we have here is the previous range. Okay, this is the previous range which hasn't been rebalanced. You can see I've put a fib across it from high to low. This is the Asian kill zone, delineated by this red box, and this is the low of the Asia range. This is the high of the Asia range, right? In the run up and into London, we run up into that OTE of this previous displacement leg, which hasn't been rebalanced into an OTE before, right? Price retraces into an OTE of this range, right? So from this low to this high, okay, before expanding higher. Takes this sell side, expands higher, ultimately to hit what? A higher time frame PD array on a higher time frame. Okay, so if we just drop down, we can see if we just drop onto this candle here, we were looking to take this interim term high on the hourly, so it was protected. Okay, and ultimately that is where price failed. There was a new weekly opening gap level and then also an RTHW you could have referenced. But just for the sake of this, we're using the premise that we have an interim term high and this is protected. So we're looking for areas to go short at this point. Okay, we also could have used this order block on this 1 minute, which is what price actually eventually ran into. Didn't quite take these highs, but ultimately ran back up into this order block. And that is where we fell short. Okay, now, this is where we're looking to take our entry. We have all the hallmarks and all the markings of what we're looking for, okay, for the AM session reversal. This is where we take our entry and we're looking for immediate displacement, okay? Now, here, it isn't the cleanest displacement, but what you do have form is a mitigation block. You could have taken your entry there. So there's two possibilities here. The first entry is, when we saw this break here, is there a fair value gap? No, so there's no entry to go short yet. When price moves up here and displaces lower, do we get a fair value gap? Yes, there's a fair value gap, which is left in here. This is where you could have taken your entry short. Stop goes above the high of this candle here, aiming at equilibrium, which we'll go through in a minute. If you missed that entry, you could have looked at this mitigation block. And when price broke that, price returned back into this miti. So if we just mark this up very quickly, that's a mitigation block, runs up into that. And why is it mitigation block? Because we have the high, the low, failed, swing high, break lower. If you don't know what mitigation block, I've also done an episode on that in my ICT series, so feel free to check it out. But ultimately, this is where we can start looking at framing our partials. Now, if we just look at this on a full screen, I'll be looking at the range low from Asia low up to the high that was created. Now, equilibrium of the range is here. So I would actually be looking at anywhere inside of equilibrium for price to fall back into. So if you say you've got up here, you'd be looking to take partials at this level, anywhere inside this level. So with this fair value gap, this order block, anything, this breaker block here, anything in this area, you'd be looking to take partials. Okay, and if you got in up here at 61, you'd be up down at 52. Very nice 9-10 handle trade. Very, very simple. And you'd hold runners to come and take the Asia low. So if you ended up taking the entire range, 43 to 61, 20 handles pretty much before and during the AM session. But this is the AM session reversal to a T. So guys, I hope you found that valuable. If you do use it, let me know in the comments at some point. But that's going to wrap up this session. As always, guys, if you found value, please do consider smashing the like and subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side. And also, guys, just to let you know, Red Pill is currently got a 1 week free trial. So if you do want to come and join the other side, which is the recognized as the #1 trading Discord for ICT traders, then have a look in the description below and you'll find links to that. But until next time, trade safe, trade smart, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.